Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our daily Money Habits broadcast. And as we are winding down 2015, one of the things that you want to do, either this week or next week, is look at your year in review. So this is why I advocate on Monday. I always talk about Mint, Mint.com, or just anything like that. So an aggregator, you want to use a financial aggregator that will help you figure out like where did your money go in 2015 or whatever in the month. And so what's great is it really helps you do like an analysis, like where is all your money going in terms of spending. So I did look at mine and was able to take a snapshot. It also helps you figure out like how does it compare to past year? Like what are your biggest spending categories? Because those don't really change unless you do something, unless you change your behavior, you change something. And you can you can determine, like, for us, kids have taken over as a spending category. So if you are a dual income couple, you will spend a lot of money on childcare if you have those children, or education, or just things associated with it. So not what you buy for the kids, it's actually what you need to occupy the kids with. The other thing is next big category is home, right? So things that you expect. So one, make sure that your like perception of reality matches with the what's actually happening. So how much are you spending on your home altogether, right? So that's why it's so important to categorize all your spending as you go along. Because I started looking back and I was like, oh, how does it compare to the previous year? And I was like, oh, 2014, I had a bunch of uncategorized things, and it's like I can't go back and figure all that out. So that's one of the benefits of the ongoing usage of Mint. If you do categorize them on a regular basis, which I recommend daily because it only takes a couple minutes and everything's fresh in your memory. So if you do that, you are able to check and see and do a year in review. And you say, okay, where is my money going and how's it compared to last year? And it's something that helps you figure out, what's going to happen next year. Because mostly like year to year, unless you have a huge life change, your spending patterns are kind of like fixed, right? So unless you're moving to a new city, you get married, you have kids, you're going to notice that it's like a pattern is pretty set. But you don't know what the pattern is unless you're looking at like the facts. So that's why, that's part of the end of year review, is to just figure out like where is my money going and what am I going to do differently coming in the new year, right? And 2016's coming up. So if you haven't really been doing it, this past year, this is a perfect time to set up, any money aggregator. I use Mint, and the reason I use it is just set it up a long time ago. It's very functional. It's backed by Intuit. It's free, and so I'm able to use it effectively. And it doesn't do everything I want it to do. I actually am going to explore personal capital for the investment portfolio. But if anybody else uses, and there's different levels of using it. So I think in January, what we're going to really try to focus on Mondays is making sure that you're making progress. If you do want to set up a Mint.com account, is to kind of walk you through like what are the different stages of maturity. And eventually what you want is you want all your accounts to plug into Mint. I don't use a lot of, I don't track my cash, so that's one of the big gaps that I saw. I was like, oh, all the cash withdrawals, they're just uncategorized. So it's a learning. So it's like deciding, do I want to track it better, or is there some categories where we can, use credit card? I use because I like tracking it, right? Like the tracking when you use credit cards is so much easier. But that's eventually what I recommend for using Mint effectively, is that you log in every day or every other day and just categorize your transactions. Because if you let it go too long, like I know after a week, I forget what all those transactions were, and I can't really keep track effectively. So what I found is that like the 100% is better than 98%. So doing it occasionally doesn't work as well as doing it regularly. Unless you set aside like a half an hour at the end of the week, and then it becomes tedious. That's the only other like effective way of tracking. So again, look at your Mint year in review. And again, my big categories for spending are kids. Kids is our largest category of expenditures than home taxes, because I'm self-employed, so I actually pay out the taxes to federal and state. I actually have a pretty big category of business services, and I want to review that. I think that there are some things I'm paying for that I'm not using. So that's, again, it's kind of reflection. I'm starting a new year. Should I cancel some things that are just not very useful? How much you spend on food and dining, how much on travel, health and fitness, education, what's your shopping, how much car expenses you have. So all of these things, the categories are going to be different for everybody in terms of proportions, but I think it's really important to figure it out. Yeah, it is. You figure it out, right? Because if you're going to change it, like the question is like, how are you going to free up some of your money to start investing and start putting a saving account, right? And there's a path on, if you're in different stages of financial freedom, that's how you're going to pay it. If you have credit card debt, like figure out how you're going to pay it off. And that's one way, is to say, like, where's all your money going, and what's going, because the thing's going to have to displace, right? Something's going to have to give. You're either going to earn more income and dedicate that for your paying off your credit cards, or you're going to have to cut back somewhere to create that. And once you do that, once you're like in stage 2 and you can effectively save, up to 10% of your income for retirement, investing, whatever it is, however you're going to designate that money. And I always, say tax deferred accounts are the best place to start. Then you're going to also see where it's going. And you can start keeping track of that in Mint as well, and say, am I meeting my savings goals and investing goals, whether it's just a snapshot or just like looking over it. And yeah, yeah, there you go. You've got to put that money, and then I know that there's a, the plan is important, but the plan's a starting point, right? And then you got to do it, and you got to make sure you're checking yourself, right? You got to hold yourself accountable. There's so many tools out there, and I think this coming year I want to explore some of the newer tools, because I don't use it. I haven't used it, right? Like, I started saving before there were a lot of these tools that are trying to make it like easier for people, like Digits and Acorns, and take advantage of it, right? Like, take advantage of it. Take advantage of Mint. Again, it's free. It's web-based. You can access it from anywhere. I think it's very good investment of your time to set up a Mint account and follow through on it and actually utilize it. So anyway, if you're just joining or replaying, my name is Joanna. I broadcast every day at 10 a.m. Central Time, Chicago time, on money habits, to teach you to develop better money habits, money management, skill sets, tips and tricks of everything I've learned over the last 20 years of managing my own finances. And if you're just joining and you haven't followed me, follow me for the daily stuff. And 2016, I have goals too. I want to, I've been doing these broadcasts daily for 70 days in a row now. And so I just started in October. And so I wanted to do more around this topic in 2016 and figure out how to reach more people, how to give them the tools that they need, and how to give them encouragement. Thanks, Christy. And how to give them encouragement to to make finances less stressful. Really, that's the ultimate goal, whatever that means for you, whether it's getting rid of credit card debt, building a retirement account, getting to financial freedom. I think it's an achievable goal for a lot of people, but I don't think we have a lot of tools, and I don't think we have a lot of that are being used by people every day, and I don't think we have a lot of services that really focus on people who haven't yet accumulated wealth to really help them understand how money works, how finances work, and what decisions they need to make for themselves. Like, what, everyone's financial situation is a little personal, but I think there are like things that you can like look at their finances. Look, here's the 3 things you've got to focus on, and try to do that for the next 2 to 3 months or 2 to 3 years, right? Like, it takes time. It takes time to change that and change the behavior and mindset as well. But I want to be here to help people with like what I've done and what I learn. I love money. I love like learning about personal finance. Like, I read a lot of personal finance articles every single day, and like I try to get smarter and follow people who write about it, and think about what they've learned as well. So it is a mindset, and it starts with a mindset. And this is really important to me, and so financial freedom's been really important to me from day one, and that's how I've I've acted, you know, from like from my first $1,000 that I earned when I was like 18, and just saved it. Like I'd never spend it. That's kind of when I go back and say, well, what do I differently? I was like, I want to make sure that I have money to take care of myself. That's very yeah, and so like, but that was when I was 18, and so I've been doing the same thing for the last 20 years, so that's added up to quite a bit. But thanks, and it's just been like a learning experience for me for, you know, for a lot of stuff in running a business, doing my own taxes, like knowing the tax laws, knowing all that. Yes, save small, it'll get bigger. But like, you don't have to be necessarily like small goals, set big goals. Like, you know, if you're 25, if you're in your 20s, you've got to start thinking a few $1,000s a year, a few thousand. Like that's it, and if you look at people who have accumulated wealth, that they've all done the same things. They were like, oh, I'm just going to set aside a lot, right? Like instead of spending it. It's the same story. It's the same story with everybody who's done wealth accumulation. Read The Millionaire Next Door. You know, yeah, the Millionaire Next Door. It'll tell you like they've studied so many millionaires, and they say that's all right. You know what? Today's a good day to start, right? And you're reading Tony Robbins' Money, which I think it's a great book as well. It's more recent, but Millionaire Next Door really was like, look, here's how people do it, you know. Here's how people do it, and how many people have done it. And then we're like, it's not magic. It's just like consistent set of behaviors. So, again, thanks a lot for joining. As we're wrapping 2015, make sure you review your finances, and if you kind of don't know where where your money went this past year, make sure you open a Mint.com account or some equivalent financial aggregator and start doing it. Start practicing the daily money habits. All right, thanks, and hopefully see you tomorrow.